So many people get scammed on their accommodations here in Santorini, and it's a really bad way to start your vacation. So if you're coming to Santorini, this is where you need to stay. I'm also going to be sharing a secret location on how to get a picture with the Blue Dome without all the crowds and no waiting and no lines at all.
We are Maniza and Abdul. We've been traveling the world and have explored over 50 countries. We bring you along on our adventures, sharing insider tips, guides, and information that will help make your next trip unforgettable. If you're new here, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment on your dream destination below, and we will personally reach out.
I'm going to be sharing 5 tips with you that are going to help you find the best place to stay here. And my recommendations are not in any order of greatness. However, I am going to keep the best for last. So we're going to start from tip number 5 all the way to number 1. So be sure to stick around for the best place to stay in Santorini. So right next to the Blue Dome, you see lines all the way coming from the top left and the top right. And those lines actually never end. They're there all the time, forever, throughout the day, even if you wake up at 5 a.m. So, how do you actually get the best view? Tip number 5, embrace the crowds. What do I mean by that exactly? If you're thinking of a Santorini vacation where you're sitting at a beach, at a resort, it's calm and relaxing, look, we definitely respect that. However, if you want to be where the action is, where the hustle and bustle of tourists are, and you want to save money on transportation, you want to save time while exploring Santorini, then Ia is where you need to be. One of the best things that we liked about Ia is that we could wake up at 6:30, 5 a.m. to 5:30 to 6:30 in the morning, and all of Ia was basically empty, and it was just magical. You can watch the sunrise. You can walk around on the streets of the town. Yes, the shops are closed, but then again, it's just magical just to see these empty streets, and explore. Just remember, if you're reading reviews about accommodations that they're way too noisy, they're on the street, and there's crowds hovering around, don't let that scare you. Because a lot of accommodations here are like that, especially if you're in the center and you're where the action's at. So don't feel afraid when you read reviews like that. Yes, in other cities, noise and commotion do matter, but you'll find that up till 12 a.m., especially if you're in Ia and a place where the action is, you'll see hear some street noise, but it doesn't take away from the experience at all. So tip number 4. The Caldera view. Now, you might be wondering and thinking, is it worth it? I don't want to spend thousands of dollars, which can happen actually on high season, and you might be correct. However, some accommodations with the magical Caldera view are absurdly priced. Not all of them are, and some of them are just fraction of the cost, and that doesn't necessarily mean staying without a view. So you can still have this view from sunrise all the way to sunset and still not pay $1,000, especially with some of the accommodations that we have listed. Actually, there's one of them that's right here on the bottom, just a little bit up, that is a steal. It's actually probably 1/8 of the price of all the other accommodations nearby. And we think it's extremely affordable. We've linked it down below because we actually stayed there for 2 nights, and we thought it was great if you're a couple or a solo traveler coming to Santorini. So one of the best experiences we've had while in Ia was actually with the view, and the view of the Caldera. So it's great when you're just sitting outside, just spending time together, or if you're alone, reading a book, and just relaxing right under the sun and having your own place. Having a balcony with the view is super underrated, right? So you could bring up your breakfast, eat it here, have breakfast delivered in, or just enjoy time. And still not have to pay $1,000 or $2,000. So if you are able to book a view with a, if you are able to book a room with a view, especially if it's a Caldera view, honestly, do it. It will make your trip. So we have 3 more tips to go, but I'm also going to be sharing with you at the end how to get the iconic Blue Dome pictures without waiting in line. Of course, this is our accommodation, so yes, we do have a very, very privileged view of the Blue Domes and the Caldera, but on the right-hand side, actually, of me, on the left-hand side of me, there's a whole line of people standing to get a view, a picture with the Blue Dome. Now, for tip number 3, the Blue Dome isn't everything. What do I mean by that? I mean that accommodations closer to the Blue Domes tend to be pricier, and they might not offer always the best value for your money. Now, while we did find an exception, and again, we've linked that below in the comments, it's actually truly rare that you find a good priced, quality with a view accommodation in Santorini that has the Blue Dome. It's close to everything. It's in Ia. It has the Caldera view. That whole combination for everything to be perfect is really rare. We did find one. We don't know how long it's going to last, and we've shared it with you guys below. But be sure to spend time and research your accommodations on booking.com, Airbnb, or actually just book only after you have a recommendation from someone you trust. Because sometimes while reading reviews, you might notice that there's a lot of brand new reviews from people who've just had one stay or have never stayed at all. So be cautious of that and make sure that reviews are actually from legitimate people that have stayed at that location or that accommodation. So for tip number 2, this might not have to do with where you stay, but one of the most important things when traveling is safety. So something horrible happened to Maniza and I, and we want to make sure that it doesn't happen to anybody else. And what I mean by that is, be sure to lock your bags. Split your cash up, your cards up between your bags, and always, always, always lock your doors. Even though Greece is relatively safe, theft is on the rise, and even so-called 5-star, 4-star accommodations, there are stories of electronics, watches, and other items being stolen. So don't let something like that happen to you. But also, don't let the story ruin your stay. Me personally, I am paranoid. So what I do is I lock my backpack with zippers, especially if I am walking on the streets. You can easily just tie your zippers or interlock them between one another, or find these small little ribbons on Amazon that you can just tie your zippers together. You always want to have them up top, especially when you're walking. Somebody could just, if you have them on the side, somebody can easily just go in and take something out. That's not what happened to us. Actually, our whole bag got stolen. There's a whole story of that in another video, exactly what happened and how we overcame that, the process that we did. If you're traveling, you should really watch this, especially if you're traveling to Greece. You should watch our other video to kind of see what, God forbid, if something happens, what steps you should take. Again, like I said, I'm super paranoid. So I actually take my luggage, kind of close it and put it right in front of the door, even though I've locked the door, because after what happened to us, I'm super paranoid that somebody's going to come into our place and take our stuff again, which has happened to other people. That's what I do. I put my stuff next to the door so I can hear it, especially if you are a solo traveler. You really, really want to stay safe. If there's 2 of you, again, we always think that it's not going to happen to us until it happens. So please stay safe. Again, the full story that what happened to us is linked in this video and also in the description. But again, I don't want to take that, make you scared and deter you from coming here. It's a beautiful country. So let's get on to tip number 1. So for tip number 1, there is no such thing as privacy in Ia, and that's okay. If you book a room with a small jacuzzi, pool, then more often than not, you will find that it's not like on Instagram. What I mean by that is the angles by which you see the pictures they're taken to make it seem like it's super private, when in reality, tourists walking by can just turn their heads and look right into your pool at yourself, right into your house or accommodation. And then those higher up, like we are, can actually look down onto the pools and terraces. So if you're staying in a high touristy spot, like we are in Ia, and like we are by the Blue Dome, well, then tourists never go away, even till 12 a.m. And that's something you learn to live with. But again, it's okay, right? You get used to that. They're not, people are not just staring and glaring at you. They're going about their life doing their own things. So don't feel shy. Just have a great time. And by talking about the Blue Dome, we were able to capture some of the most magical moments without a single person, a single wait in line. And how did we do this? Well, we met up with the local and we organized this tour beforehand. As a tourist, we're limited to what we know about things when it comes to Ia. And even, we don't know all the windy paths that go down and the ones that lead to dead ends. And exploring with the local is by far one of the best ways to see the city. And we get to learn more about the history, find hidden locations like the ones we did. So if you're looking for like all the Instagrammable spots in Santorini, we have another video with all the actual Google locations pinned for you. So that's going to be really helpful if you're kind of coming to Santorini and you want to find all the best spots for all your pictures. But if you're looking for exclusive access to the Blue Dome without a line, book a tour with a local. A tour guide, we've shared some links below. We took this tour and we were able to get some really, really nice pictures without any lines and without any people. Even though when we did this tour, there were lines at the actual Blue Dome. It's just an access point that other people don't know about. So definitely book a local tour. It's relatively cheap, and it's going to be worth your while. We hope that these tips help you plan a better and more exciting trip to Santorini. So until next time.